Hi everyone, I'm Paul. I am restoring a 1946 Chevy Truck, which was originally owned by Gulf Oil. My grandfather was a dairy farmer on Long Island, New York, and he purchased this truck shortly after Gulf Oil got done with it to use, as well as to take and move his equipment from Long Island up to New Hampshire. My first memory of this truck was when I was 8 years old and my uncle pulled into my grandfather's property in New Hampshire and offloaded a 1947 John Deere A tractor, which I still own, but that's a story for another day. Before I get into what I've done so far on this truck, let me give you a little history. I've owned this truck over 50 years. In my younger days, I've used it to haul my dairy cattle to 4-H fairs, haul wood and hay. These are some pictures of what I started with. Although drivable, it needed considerable work, so I decided to do an off-the-frame restoration. When my grandfather bought the truck, the plaque on the glove box door clearly showed Gulf Oil first used this truck, so I decided to bring it back to original as much as possible. As you can see, I've made considerable progress, but still have a fair way to go to be able to complete this truck. I am doing an off-the-frame restoration with one exception, and that is I did not pull the axles or the springs, both front and rear, left them both on. Everything was tight and good condition, didn't need to pull them off, but everything came either off this frame or out of it, so I could take and work on it. First thing we had worked on was the engine. It's a 235 cubic inch and it was completely redone. The crank and the cam were both reconditioned. There was new rings, new pistons, it was rebored, so we're probably pulling about 240 cubic inch at this point in time, give or take. The transmission was also taken apart and worked on. I had some shifter problems, so that was taken and pulled out and rebuilt. Next, what I had done was put new brakes, completely new brake system in here. I have a new master cylinder, all new wheel cylinders, all new shoes, all the way around, and the drums were taken and reground. They just got them back, so they're about ready to be put in. Here are the rear brakes. To be honest with you, we had a little bit of problem trying to get shoes for this truck. They don't make them anymore, and very few people can actually put shoes back on the steel. Did find somebody up in Syracuse, New York, who was willing and able to do it. So we got them taken, relined, and installed. So again, the drums are all ready to go in. I also took and replaced every single brake line in this truck. The old ones were either shot or rusty, so I decided just to take and pull them all out and put all new brake lines in. In doing this restoration, I want to do this to original as much as possible. I've made a few exceptions, and the first one being the radiator. Instead of putting the old copper one back in, I went to an all aluminum one. Should keep that engine running a little bit cooler versus the copper one. The other upgrade that I'm doing is I'll be replacing the entire wiring harness. I did purchase a new one. As you can see, this one is basically shot. The wires are all exposed and brittle. And when doing that, I am going to convert this truck from a 6 volt up to a 12 volt. Should have better lights, and everything else for the electrical system should run a little bit smoother on this one. So I'm upgrading that. So what's next? I am going to finish these brakes, put the drums on, get the fluid into the system, make sure everything works properly on that aspect. The wheels for this truck are at a sandblaster, which will be sandblasted and painted. Then I'll get some new tires and we'll install them on. After the tires are put on, I am then going to concentrate on the electrical system. As I mentioned, we're going to put a whole new wiring harness in, get it all wired up, convert it over to 12 volt, and then, as far as I'm concerned, the fun begins, because then I'll be able to put the body back together. So that's the truck so far. I'm really excited about getting it together. I want to get it on the road before summertime and just basically drive it around. Considerable amount of work has been done, but there's a considerable amount of work that needs to be done, obviously, to get this thing back onto the road. But I'm looking at it, and once I do, it should be a new truck. Everything has been gone through, everything will have gone through. Anything that needs to be replaced will be replaced. Thanks for watching, and I'll keep you updated.